the year I graduated. The national movement to send educated youth to the countryside was in full swing. To help her best friend's younger brother stay in the city, my fiancée sent me away to the countryside for 7 years, and when I came back, she actually proposed to me in front of everyone. The crowd erupted into cheers. They all assumed I would surely say yes. After all, I was the one who had boldly confessed to Evelyn and pursued her relentlessly, winning over the coldest and most elegant goddess of University A. But they all seemed to forget, back then, Evelyn had chosen another man, letting him take the city job that was meant for me, and made me go to the countryside in his place. She even slandered my parents' morals to threaten me. In the end, she forced me to leave for the countryside and stay there for 7 years. Now that I'm back, her best friend told me, after you went to the countryside, Miss Moo used all her connections to make sure you lived a bit more comfortably out there. She never got married all these years. She's been waiting for you the whole time. Chapter 1. As I listened to Autumn sitting beside me ramble on and on, I couldn't help but frown. She kept telling me how much Evelyn had done for me. Seeing my indifferent expression and lack of reaction, she grew anxious. Can't you at least say something? Evelyn did all this for you, don't you feel even a little moved? Her shrill tone drew the attention of our classmates. Their eyes turned toward me, some curious, some disdainful. It had been 7 years since I last heard Evelyn's name. To me, that name felt almost foreign now, as if it belonged to a different lifetime. Even the passion I once had for her had nearly been washed away by time. 7 years ago, I boarded the train to the countryside alone, carrying only my luggage. So aside from my family, almost no one knew I had ever been married. That's why I couldn't tell if what Autumn said about Evelyn came from her own desire to inform me, or if someone had asked her to say it. Maybe it was on purpose, to let me know what Evelyn had supposedly done for me all these years. That thought made me frown again. Whatever happened between Evelyn Moo and me, that was just childishness back then. Let's not bring it up anymore. I waved my hand, showing not even a trace of nostalgia. Everyone around me stared in shock. Even the noisy class reunion fell silent. You could hear a pin drop. Evelyn and I were childhood friends. At some point, my feelings for her changed from friendship to something deeper, something possessive. As the only boy in the family, I grew up pampered, full of confidence and pride. Back then, I believed that as long as I had the courage to chase after what I wanted, I could always get it. So I pursued Evelyn passionately. I invited her to dinner, asked her out to the movies. When her mother fell ill, I even begged my parents to use their connections to find the best doctor for her surgery. While she was caring for her mother, I made sure she had 3 meals a day. Whenever another boy showed interest in her, I'd step in right away and make it clear, this flower was already taken. Even when she dreamed of becoming a teacher, it was my father who helped her get a smoother path into the school system. Eventually, after all my efforts, I won her over. The once cold and distant Miss Moo began to gently remind me to dress warmly, cared for me when I was sick or upset, and comforted me when I needed it. She even tolerated my little moods and occasionally acted cute with me. When people called me shameless or a simp, she'd stand in front of me and defend me with unwavering loyalty. She would take the initiative to invite me to cultural performances during her vacations and proudly introduced me to her friends. I once thought we'd keep walking hand in hand like that forever, until 3 months before another round of countryside assignments, Jordan suddenly reappeared. He was a boy Evelyn had known in middle school, a beam of light in her heart. But I trusted Evelyn too much to suspect anything unusual between them. In fact, I even treated Jordan like a brother just because he was connected to her. But afterward, Evelyn stopped having time for me. Even during her vacations, she didn't even try to meet up anymore. Sometimes when I made the effort to find her, she'd brush me off, saying she was too busy. On our 2-year anniversary, she once again claimed she had school duties and couldn't be with me. But something felt off. Just a few days earlier, she told me she didn't have classes that day. There was no way the school would suddenly assign her work, especially not when they'd go out of their way to show respect to my father. Suspicious, I quietly went to the school to find her, only to be told she was on leave, and not on campus. A colleague of hers said she had gone to the department store. Without a second thought, I rushed straight to the department store, only to see Evelyn Moo and Jordan walking side by side through the mall. Their hands were full of shopping bags. They were laughing and chatting, looking every bit like a couple madly in love. Next to them stood Evelyn's younger sister, her face glowing with excitement as she looked at Jordan and said, "Jordan, I really think you and my sister are a perfect match. How about I just call you brother-in-law?" She giggled as she looked up at Jordan, who responded with a joyful smile. Evelyn glanced at her sister and said, "Don't talk nonsense." But her tone wasn't one of scolding, it was a mix of helplessness and affection. And from the slight upward curve of Evelyn's lips, it was obvious she didn't mind what Jenny said. On the contrary, her expression betrayed her true thoughts. A sour ache filled my chest, as if even breathing had become a blade slicing through me. Maybe it was because my stare was too intense. She suddenly turned and spotted me standing not far away. My eyes were clearly red, my expression full of hurt and anger, but she didn't show the slightest intention of comforting me. She didn't even seem the least bit guilty or ashamed. Instead, she looked annoyed. "What are you doing here?" she asked. That sentence completely ignited the fury inside me. As a man with dignity, how could I possibly swallow that kind of humiliation? I strode right up to Evelyn. "This is the urgent school matter you said you couldn't get away from," I asked, sarcasm dripping from my tone. My attitude clearly irritated her more. She snapped. "Comrade Jordan is a new records administrator. The principal asked me to look after him because we were classmates. I'm here today for official reasons. Can you please get your facts straight before you start interrogating me?" I looked at Evelyn in disbelief. She had always been aloof, but never once did she speak harshly to me, let alone scold me in front of others like this. Realizing her words might have gone too far, Evelyn glanced at me nervously and quickly grabbed my hand to apologize. "Mario, I'm sorry. I spoke too harshly. That's not what I meant." I pulled my hand away, took a deep breath, and tried to calm the fury raging inside me. "Then what did you mean? If you were busy today, you could have just told me." There was no need to lie. I was still angry, but Evelyn reached out again and held my hand tightly in her soft fingers. "I didn't lie to you. I really did come here on a last-minute request from the principal, and also, I wanted to pick out a gift for you, since I haven't had much time for you lately." Her words sent a wave of warmth through me again. It felt like I mattered to her, but then I remembered what Jenny had said earlier, and the bitterness returned. Then why did Jenny call him brother-in-law? I turned my gaze to Jenny. Just moments ago, she had clung to Jordan with a face full of admiration and hope. Now, her expression had turned sour, as if I'd stolen something precious from her. She looked at me with thinly veiled contempt. Evelyn's eyes followed mine to Jenny and she sighed helplessly. "That little brat just says whatever comes to her mind. Of course she knows who her real brother-in-law is. Once I'm done with things here, I'll go home and cook something nice for you, okay?" She was a great cook, just rarely had the time to do it. She was always so busy. At that moment, the anger I still held in my chest was nearly worn away by her soft tone and gentle words. I was just about to nod and forgive her when Jordan jogged over to me in 3 quick strides. "Mario, I'm really sorry," he said. "I just started working at the school, and the principal was worried I wouldn't adapt well. So he asked Evelyn to help me buy a few things. If it really bothers you, I can ask the principal to assign someone else." As he spoke, he lowered his head, his eyes turning red, and even wiped the corners of his eyes. Immediately, Jenny, who had been standing quietly nearby, exploded. "Why do you like bullying people so much? It was bad enough when you bullied my sister, now you're picking on Jordan too. What kind of terrible man are you?" She blurted it out without holding back, pointing at me and scolding me in front of everyone. I was stunned. After all, I had always tried to be kind to her because I loved Evelyn. I extended that affection to Jenny too, doing my best to give her whatever she wanted. I never expected that deep down, this was how she saw me. Evelyn then let go of my hand and walked over to Jordan. She comforted him softly and even reached out to ruffle his hair. In just a few gentle words, she had soothed the weeping Jordan with ease. Watching this scene, my heart filled with bitterness and sorrow. That night, Evelyn did indeed buy groceries and cook me a nice meal, but I couldn't enjoy it at all. Instead, I felt suffocated and miserable, because even though she was physically by my side, serving me food and making dinner, her words kept circling back to Jordan. Jordan was my classmate in middle school. He helped me a lot with my studies back then. I had to take care of my sister, go to school, and also look after my mother at home. He supported me through all of it, so I just want to repay him a little. You know my heart belongs to you. She held my hand and looked at me sincerely as she made this promise. Facing those earnest eyes, my anger slowly melted away. Thinking of all we'd been through, I could only sigh and nod. I decided to let it go. Then Evelyn brought out a small box. Inside was a merit medal. I made a breakthrough in my research. The school applied for this award for me, and I want to use it as a symbol of our love. Today marks our 2-year anniversary. I hope there will be many more to come, and that we'll have a long and beautiful future together. As she spoke, she pushed the medal toward me. My heart warmed. Her words touched me. I finally accepted the medal and said, "Mm." Then I pulled her into my arms and kissed her forehead. The unease and resentment inside me slowly faded with her tenderness, but I never expected that this moment of warmth would be so fleeting. From that day on, she began spending even more time with Jordan. Commuting together was one thing, but now she even took him to the department store on weekends. They moved closely, acted intimately. It was as if they were the real couple. Soon, rumors began spreading in our community compound that Evelyn and I had broken up, that she had dumped me. Before I could even trace the origin of those rumors, Jordan came knocking on my door. He held a plate of dumplings in his hands and wore a gentle smile. "I came to bring you these dumplings. Jenny and I made them for Evelyn today." I took the plate and was about to send him away, but he pushed his way into my home on his own. The smile vanished from his face, replaced by a sneer and obvious disgust. I know Evelyn only got with you because you kept pestering her, he said. I'll admit, you were bold. But honestly, you're kind of pathetic. You can tell, right? Evelyn's into me, not you. If you were smart, you'd walk away on your own. Looking at his arrogant face, I really wanted to punch him, but I knew I couldn't. If I laid a hand on him, things would get messy. Seeing that I didn't respond or take the bait, he got even cockier and leaned in closer. Fine. Then let me show you who Evelyn's heart really belongs to. I told Evelyn exactly what had happened, word for word, but she refused to believe me. In fact, she accused me of slandering Jordan. I know you don't like Jordan, but that doesn't mean you get to say things like that about him. He's always been a gentle and respectful guy. Her voice was laced with anger. Before I could even defend myself, she continued, I always thought you had a bit of a temper, but at least you had good character. I didn't expect you to stoop this low. I'm so disappointed in you. Her words were like a thorn, stabbing deep into my chest. I couldn't believe these things were coming from the mouth of the woman I loved, my fiancée. Chapter 2. I watched her walk away so decisively, and all I felt inside was a wave of cold. You're saying my character is lacking, that I disappointed you. Maybe she didn't know how to respond to my question right away. After a brief silence, she finally said, I'll talk to the principal. From now on, I won't have any more contact with Jordan. I'm also going to be very busy with my research lately, so we probably won't be able to see each other for a while. You should take this time to reflect on what you did wrong. After saying that, she turned and walked off. It made me start to question everything. Should I really be with this person? After all this time and all the sincerity I gave, what did I actually get in return? I was furious, so I stopped talking to her. Silent treatment. And sure enough, she was busy. At least, she never showed up in front of me again. Even when I ran into her at the department store a month later, she pretended not to see me at all, like I was a complete stranger. I used to think one of us would eventually give in first, but instead of an apology, what I got was the official notice. I was being sent to the countryside. I had grown up as the treasured only son in my family. I had just graduated, and my parents had already pulled strings to line up a job for me. But when the list of those assigned to rural development came out, my name was on it. I couldn't believe it. So I went straight to Evelyn. She was in charge of registering the names for the countryside assignment. There was no way she didn't know about this. At the time, she was chatting and laughing with Jordan. They looked just like a couple. Standing nearby were a few others. I recognized them as Evelyn's friends, including Autumn. The moment I walked in, all the laughter and joy in the room vanished. The atmosphere froze, as if none of it had ever happened. Evelyn, I need an explanation. I stared at her, calm on the surface, but my eyes carried deep disappointment. She looked at me, frowning slightly, then let out a sigh. I knew you'd come to me about this. Every family is expected to actively support the rural assignment program. That's not news to you, is it? Of course I knew. I nodded. Then you knew I was on the list, right? Why is my name there, but not his? I had seen the assignment list earlier. Jordan's name had been on it, not mine. But now, his name had been crossed off, and mine was there instead. Evelyn pressed her lips together. Before she could speak, Jordan stepped forward. Mario, I already have a job. Obviously I don't need to go to the countryside anymore. You shouldn't be suspecting Evelyn like this. You're her fiancé. Saying things like that will hurt her. His words stabbed into me like a knife. I looked straight at Evelyn, lips trembling, eyes locked on hers. So, is that how it is? She glanced at me, and there was something complicated in that look. Hesitation, inner conflict, and a faint glimmer of resolve. Your family is well off. You have your parents and sister to take care of you. But Jordan, he only has himself. Hearing that, I couldn't help but laugh. This was the girl I had grown up with, the woman I'd loved and cared for over a decade. If I could, I'd rather have never met her, never loved her. Shaking my head, I took 2 steps back. The disappointment in my eyes seemed to burn her. She reached out as if to grab my hand. But Jordan was faster. He stared at me with smug eyes, a flicker of triumph flashing across his face. But it only lasted a second before Jordan reverted to his pitiful tone. Mario, if you slander her like this, the school might think Evelyn has questionable morals. Do you really want to ruin her future? I was just about to speak, but he interrupted again, still acting wronged. I know you want my position. Your father already came to warn me, told me to get lost and stay away from Evelyn. I'll listen. Okay. As he said that, he even wiped a tear from the corner of his eye. Evelyn suddenly looked like something inside her snapped. What did you say? A warning? Autumn quickly nodded. I did see an assistant from Commander Law's office come talk to Jordan. With her confirmation, Evelyn's expression turned extremely unpleasant. Mario, I can't believe you've become this kind of person. Jordan has no one, he's an orphan. I only looked after him out of old friendship, but I never imagined you'd be so jealous, using power to suppress others. I used to think you were just a little proud, but now I see, you're hopeless, rotten to the core. Her words were vicious. For the first time, I couldn't stop the tears from rolling down my face. I quickly wiped them away with my sleeve, then looked up at her. In your heart, is that really what you think of me, of my family? You didn't even bother to find out the truth before you threw accusations like that. I stared at Evelyn. She met my gaze with anger. They have no reason to lie to me. The moment she said that, I felt a stabbing pain in my chest. Autumn and the others started whispering among themselves. Their eyes were filled with even more contempt and disgust as they looked at me. If you don't want to go to the countryside, I have evidence that Commander Law abused his power to get you out of it. Evelyn snapped. The moment those words left her mouth, I knew there was no longer any future between us. To protect Jordan, she was willing to hurt my family. I left her with one sentence, I'll go, and resolutely boarded the train to the countryside. Before I left, I asked my sister to return the medal Evelyn had given me. That was the end of our 20-something years of history together. Coming back to the present, I looked at Autumn in front of me and said, sorry, everything's in the past now. We should look ahead. Seeing that I was about to leave, Autumn quickly called out, Mario, I know you're angry, but don't you think Evelyn deserves a chance to explain? I frowned. What's there to explain about the past? Besides, I'm married now. In that instant, the entire room fell silent. Everyone stared at me. Even Autumn looked at me in disbelief. What did you say? You're married? How could you be married? You were so in love with Evelyn. After she spoke, others joined in, clearly not believing me and agreeing with her. Mario, married? No way. He used to chase after Evelyn like a dog. Exactly. A guy that desperate and clingy, who would like him. He was meant to marry Evelyn, not ruin someone else's life. And someone who was that obsessed, how could he just stop loving her like flipping a switch? I don't believe it. He's clearly just being stubborn, pretending he's married. One bitter and malicious comment after another, but I acted like I hadn't heard a thing. I just looked calmly at Autumn. Do you also think I'm lying? She froze for a second, wanting to say something, but in the end, she just shook her head. To be honest, I probably shouldn't be getting involved in this, but I just feel like Evelyn gave so much for you. The least you could do is see her. No matter how it ends between you two, you should at least have a proper conversation. Her voice softened a lot as she said that, but I could see the disbelief in her eyes. After all, I had once chased after Evelyn with everything I had, willing to give her my entire world, even a man's most basic dignity and pride. But even a love that fervent was ultimately extinguished. As of now, I'm already married. Whether they believed me or not, I knew that even if I explained, they wouldn't believe me anyway. People only want to see what they choose to believe. I remembered I'd promised my daughter I'd be home early to celebrate her birthday, so I had no interest in staying any longer. I stood up, ready to leave, but Autumn blocked my way. You're already here. Can't you wait just a little longer? Evelyn is already on her way. Just as I was about to speak, the door to the private room opened, and Evelyn walked in, slightly out of breath. She was now dressed in a formal professional outfit, with gold-rimmed glasses perched on her nose. Behind the lenses, her already cold eyes seemed even more distant and alluring. She exuded a kind of refined indifference that made people feel they could only admire her from afar. But the moment her eyes landed on me, all that coldness vanished, replaced by a wave of tenderness. She quickly approached, forcing a stiff, awkward smile onto her face. A dry, uncertain smile. Mario, it's been a long time. A faint blush crept onto her cheeks, and her gaze held a quiet hope. I nodded politely in return. Evelyn, long time indeed, but not good. Her smile froze on her face. A flicker of sadness crossed her eyes, and her whole demeanor was enveloped in melancholy. Mario, are you still mad at me? Why are you treating me like a stranger? That's not how it's supposed to be between us, is it? It really hurts me when you act like this. She looked so wounded. In the past, whenever she showed me that face, no matter how angry I was, I'd always end up comforting her. And now, she was trying that trick again. But unfortunately for her, I was no longer the same person I once was. I looked at Evelyn calmly. Miss Moo, we haven't seen each other in 7 years, and frankly, this distance between us is how it should be. What happened back then, I couldn't forgive, and now, I definitely wouldn't forgive. After saying that, I picked up my things and turned to leave. It was getting late. I needed to go home to Ollie. She was still waiting for me to celebrate her birthday with her. I stepped past Evelyn and headed toward the door, but she suddenly grabbed my wrist. Then she dropped to one knee and pulled out a box. Inside was a Medal of Honor and a ring. It was the same medal she had once given me, the one that symbolized our engagement, but I had returned it long ago. After all, when I left, I was beyond heartbroken. Caught off guard for just a moment, I saw her take the ring and try to slip it onto my ring finger. Let's get married, Mario. Her voice was full of affection, almost desperate, as if without that ring, I'd fly away and disappear forever. Evelyn, I think you're confusing me with someone else. I'm not Jordan." When she heard that, her previously urgent expression strangely shifted into one of subtle smugness. She gripped my hand tighter. "Mario, are you jealous?" "I admit, what happened with the countryside assignment back then was unfair to you, but I did it for you and your family. Jordan said that if he didn't have to go, he wouldn't report your parents. I knew how much they care about you, and I knew how much you care about them, right?" Seeing that she still wanted to explain, I pulled my hand away. "First of all, I never did anything to Jordan that warrants guilt. I don't need you making choices on my behalf. Second, if my parents really did something wrong, Jordan can go ahead and report them. He can't convict them with just empty words. And lastly, let's stop talking about the past. There's no future between us. None. Because I'm already married and my daughter is 4 years old. So please, Miss Moo, stop saying things that could cause misunderstandings. I don't want my wife to get jealous or upset." My words drained the color from Evelyn's face. She grabbed my arm in a panic and shook me over and over. "What did you say? You're married, and you have a 4-year-old daughter? Mario, you're just saying that to upset me, right? You're mad, aren't you? You're trying to get back at me. Didn't you say before that you only ever wanted to marry me? How could you possibly have married someone else?" She leaned in closer, her serious eyes full of desperate hope. It was as if she was waiting, begging, for me to deny everything I'd just said. But as I looked back into her eyes, I was completely calm. Yet on her face, once untouchable and composed, there was now panic, unease, even a trace of regret. I'd seen her wear that expression once before, when her mother was in the hospital. Only once. I never thought I'd see it again now. "Mario, why didn't you wait for me?" she asked, her voice carrying a note of accusation and unwillingness to accept the truth. "I was trying so hard to find a way back to you." She spoke as if I had betrayed her, as if I had crushed her great love. "Wait for you?" I asked. "Evelyn, did you forget how long I already waited for you back then?" Evelyn froze. It was as if a long-buried memory had suddenly resurfaced. Her lips parted for a long time before she finally spoke. "Jordan and I really weren't anything more than friends," she desperately tried to explain, but I gently pushed her hands away and stepped back to keep my distance, my gaze steady. "Evelyn, it's not about what you say, it's about what you do. How many times did you argue with me because of him? How many times did you ignore me completely? You lied about being too busy just so you could go shopping with him, and you think that's love? If you truly liked me, loved me, then I should have come first, not always be the one left waiting." My words made Evelyn stagger back half a step. She had to brace herself against the back of a chair to keep from falling. She was once the goddess of University A, known for her intellect and achievements in academia. When had anyone ever seen the proud Evelyn in such a state? From the way we spoke, the people around us started recalling the past. I remember. Wasn't it Evelyn who broke off the engagement with Mario and got together with Jordan? Yeah. And didn't she even personally put Mario's name on the list to be sent to the countryside? So why is she acting now like she's madly in love with Mario? If you love someone, shouldn't you protect and stand by them? Some people only realize what they've lost after it's gone, but no one will wait forever. Those comments echoed exactly how I used to feel. But now, those words didn't stir me anymore. I simply looked at the pale, stricken Evelyn and said, "Miss Moo, some things are better left unsaid. If there's nothing else, I'll be heading out. My daughter's still waiting for me to celebrate her birthday. You all enjoy yourselves." With that, I turned and walked toward the door, but Evelyn rushed to block my path again. She stared directly into my eyes, but when she met my cold gaze, she instinctively stepped aside. I didn't bother saying anything else and kept walking out the front entrance. Still, Evelyn wouldn't give up. She followed closely behind me, but I paid her no attention and walked all the way to the front gate. Just as I stepped outside, a tiny figure came crashing into my field of vision. Sprinting straight toward me, and with a joyful leap, she threw herself at my legs and hugged them tightly. "Daddy." Chapter 3. Her voice was crisp and tender, full of pure joy and anticipation. I gently took her little hand and squatted down, wrapping her in a warm embrace. "Ollie, did you miss Daddy?" I teased her softly while she curled up in my arms. Then, a graceful silhouette entered my vision. Lillian's beautiful, radiant face lit up with affection the moment she saw me. "Honey." Her figure was perfectly curvy, even more alluring after having our child. She carried herself with elegance and sensuality, and yet, around others, she always wore a distant, untouchable coldness, a kind of danger that said, "Don't come close." But now, she smiled warmly and walked up to me. Reaching out her hand, I gave her mine, and she gently took it, nestling into my arms. "Tired?" Her soft voice pulled me out of my daze, her beauty still enough to catch me off guard. I quickly shook my head. "Not tired." Even after 5 years of marriage, the spark between us still burned like we were newly in love. "Daddy, you can't forget about me just because you saw Mommy." The little one in my arms protested in a babyish, slightly aggrieved voice. Today is Ali's birthday. Daddy has to love me more today. Yes, it's Ali's birthday. So Daddy will love Ali extra today. Let's put Mommy to the side for a bit. Okay. I coaxed Ali gently, but someone clearly wasn't pleased. No way. I should always be first in your heart. Her eyes locked with mine, overflowing with a depth of love that pulled me in again and again. Mommy is bad. She's stealing Daddy from Ali. Ali squirmed in my arms in protest. Lillian chuckled lightly and squeezed my hand. Are you cold? Ali didn't see you at home and insisted on coming to find you. That's why I brought her. The restaurant is booked. I thought it'd be just about time to come pick you up. I nodded with a smile. Yeah, perfect timing. Lillian smiled back and linked her arm through mine, ready to walk to the reserved restaurant. But just as we took 2 steps, a voice, shaky and full of unwillingness, called out from behind. Mario. Evelyn looked frail and worn down. Her eyes were heavy with sadness as she stared at me. Lillian and I turned to look at her together. I frowned slightly. What is it? Miss Moo, is there something else you need? Evelyn's gaze landed on our interlocked hands. Her lips parted, but in the end, she simply shook her head with defeat. Her body swayed, like she might collapse at any moment. I nodded slightly, and Ali, still perched on my shoulder, glanced curiously at Evelyn. Daddy, is that lady sick? She looks like she's gonna fall down. She blinked in innocent concern. I gently pinched her cheek, unsure how to respond. Lillian looked at Ali with a smile in her eyes. Ali, it's your birthday today. Don't you want some cake? Ali, being a child, was instantly distracted. Yes, let's go right now. She bounced excitedly in my arms, eager to get to the restaurant. Mario. Evelyn's voice came again, laced with sorrow and desperation. Her complexion was pale, and grief swirled in her eyes. I felt a flicker of impatience and was about to speak, but someone stepped in front of me. Lillian looked directly at Evelyn. You must be Miss Moo, right? As a teacher, shouldn't you be setting a better example? Calling out to my husband over and over, do you have something truly urgent to say? My daughter is still too young to attend your school. Her words were a reminder. Stop looking at us. We've moved on. But Evelyn's reaction to those few sentences was instant. Anger and jealousy flared in her eyes. So you're Mario's wife? Yes. Lillian tightened her grip on my hand, as if to fuse us into one. Then do you know? Evelyn said with bitterness, that Mario once chased another woman and almost married her. Lillian's face remained calm, not even a crease in her brow, but I knew. She was furious. Beneath her calm and collected surface, a storm was clearly brewing in her heart. I let go of Lillian's hand and placed my arm around her shoulders. Miss Moo, like you said, almost. What was almost back then is now miles away from anything real. Besides, everyone makes mistakes in their youth. Mistaking a toxic woman for someone precious isn't exactly unheard of. But don't rush to claim that title of toxic woman like it's a badge of honor. That said, I should still thank you. If it weren't for you, I wouldn't have gone to the countryside. I wouldn't have met my wife. Because of you, I now have a happy marriage and a woman who looks at me like I'm her whole world. So I'd advise you not to try and mess with what I have with my wife, because nothing, not even you, can come between us. I could brush off everything she did to me before, but I would never allow her to interfere with my family. For the people I love, I wouldn't hesitate to fight back. Evelyn stared at me in disbelief, unable to accept what she was hearing. Toxic? Is that really what you think I am? Yes, and if I had a choice, I'd rather we had no connection at all. With that, I gently tugged Lillian's arm. She understood. I wanted to leave, so she linked arms with me and confidently led the way to the car. She turned to me and asked softly, was everything you said just now the truth? Of course it was, I replied. What happened between Evelyn and me is long over. The only people I love now are you and Ali. We celebrated Ali's birthday afterward. The joy and warmth surrounded us like a bubble. It felt like we'd returned to the beginning, untouched, whole, as if everything with Evelyn had never happened. I thought I'd never see her again, but to my surprise, the moment I returned to my parents' house, there she was, standing at the gate. She looked far more worn than before. The arrogance she used to carry was gone. In its place was a kind of defeated weariness. I didn't expect her to ambush me like this, and a wave of impatience surged in my chest. Evelyn, what do you want now? That last encounter had left Lillian clingier than ever. She'd tortured me half the night afterward, nearly drained me dry. Now, every time I saw Evelyn, it was like seeing a damn plague. Honestly, I wanted nothing to do with her, but I knew if I didn't deal with this, she'd just keep showing up, invading every corner of my life. Mario, just give me a chance to talk properly with you, please? Her voice trembled with pleading. There's nothing for us to talk about. I shook my head, but she still didn't give up. I know. I was wrong back then. I shouldn't have doubted you because of Jordan. I shouldn't have crossed out his name and sent you to suffer in his place. I cut her off before she could finish. The past is the past. There's no need to keep digging it up. We should be looking forward, not drowning in what's already over. The disgust and impatience on my face didn't go unnoticed. She saw it, realized I truly didn't care anymore, and panic spread across her expression. Mario, I'm truly sorry. Back then I was just angry. I couldn't believe you would actually do something like that. Jordan was my classmate. He was well-behaved, smart, and all alone. I just instinctively leaned toward him. I know it was my fault. Her words made me laugh coldly. Evelyn, you say he was your classmate, smart and moral, but what about me? I grew up with you. I treated you well, didn't I? Maybe I was a little spoiled, a little stubborn, but I never did anything dishonorable. So why was his word trustworthy, but mine wasn't? In the end, it's simple. You wanted to believe him. You chose not to believe me. Or maybe, the truth is, by that point, your heart had already tilted toward him. When she heard what I said, Evelyn scrambled to explain. No, it's not like that. I really just saw him as a classmate and wanted to help him out. I've been waiting for you to come back all these years. I've always hoped we could be together again. Mario, in this lifetime. I only want to be with you. I know I made mistakes in the past, but please, I'm begging you, give me a chance to make it right. She was practically pleading, but all I felt was exasperation. Evelyn, is that all you wanted to say? My words stunned her. For a moment, she didn't know how to respond, but seeing the calm and indifferent look on my face, she suddenly grew uneasy. Mario, do you really think none of this matters? For 7 years, I've been thinking about how to bring you back. I've thought of you constantly. I've waited. She looked into my eyes like she was searching for some trace of softness, but I could only shake my head. Evelyn, you were the one who allowed Jordan to cross boundaries. My words left her visibly shaken, her eyes flickering with guilt. I gave a cold laugh. Let's be honest, Jenny's attitude toward Jordan came from you, didn't it? Without your silent approval, how would she have dared to call him brother-in-law right in front of you? You've always known how to handle inappropriate feelings from others, sometimes even too harshly, and I used to admire that about you. But with Jordan, you always looked the other way. So even if it hadn't been him, there would have been someone else eventually. I took a deep breath and didn't let her interrupt. In the past, I gave you all my love, but I also have the right to take it back. Now, I only love my wife, my daughter, and my family. They're the ones who truly matter to me. I hope you'll stop showing up in my life. Stop disrupting it. With that, I turned and headed toward my parents' house, but Evelyn chased after me again and grabbed my arm. Yes, I did have some feelings for Jordan, she blurted, but it was because we had fought, and he showed up at just the right time. He calmed me down. But please believe me, I've only ever loved you, no matter what. I always wanted to be with you. Hearing her emotional voice and seeing her reaching toward me, I shoved her away, barely restraining the impulse to slap her. Enough. Evelyn, don't you get it by now? I'm a man. I have my pride. Even if nothing happened between you and Jordan, I still wouldn't take you back. I have a family now. I have someone I love. And you will never be the person I want to choose. She froze at my words, utterly stunned. I had no interest in dragging this out any further. I picked up my things and walked into my parents' house. I could feel her eyes burning into my back the whole time, but I didn't look back, because I knew she was once the burning crush of my youth. But that was all in the past. In fact, I couldn't even remember why I had liked her, why I ever wanted to be with her. Whatever it was between us, it was over, long ago. When I left my parents' place, she was nowhere to be seen. I let out a long breath of relief, but when Lillian came home later, she glared at me with a face full of righteous fury. What's wrong, Miss Lillian? Why that look? I asked playfully, wrapping an arm around her waist and gazing deep into her eyes. She finally couldn't hold it in. When were you planning to tell me Evelyn came looking for you again today? Ah, so that's why she was mad. I gave her a deliberately serious nod. She waited for me at the compound gate today. What did she want this time? She asked through gritted teeth, eyes blazing like she wanted to tear Evelyn limb from limb. I couldn't help but tease her. She said she still wants to be with me, even if I'm married, even if I have a kid. As long as I agree, she'll give up everything. Give up everything? Lillian snapped. If I don't tear her face off, she clearly doesn't know the meaning of everything. She looked ready to storm out, and I quickly wrapped my arms around her from behind. I'm teasing you. The moment I said that, the world spun, and the next thing I knew, she was sitting on top of me. You dare lie to me? I playfully tapped her nose, then scooped her up into my arms. Her loving eyes locked tightly onto mine. Mario, we're married now. We have Ollie. I'm never divorcing you, and I'm never letting you go. Even if you try to run, I'll hold onto you tightly. I'll always treat you well and never give anyone else a chance. As she said that, her sweet lips pressed gently against my face. I couldn't even find the words to respond, so I just held her face in my hands and kissed her again and again. Only when she had finally calmed down a little did I speak. You don't have to worry. I never planned on leaving, and I already told Evelyn there's no going back for me. In my heart, there's only you and Ollie. The moment those words left my mouth, her breath wrapped around me, warm, intense, irresistible. All I knew was that that night, she nearly drained me dry. After that, Evelyn really did vanish from my life. She was reassigned to a different city. Whether she requested the transfer herself or someone else pulled strings behind the scenes, I never found out. But to me, either way, it was a good thing. As long as it brought peace to my wife's heart, as long as it made her happy, I had no objections. One year, during the spring festival, I happened to run into Evelyn outside my parents' house. She had grown much thinner. We only exchanged a brief glance, and then, as if by silent agreement, turned away from each other. I knew then, whatever story we once had, it was long over. All I wanted now was to cherish the people by my side, and protect this family I'd built with everything I had.